24 Carat Buddha, and Other Fables, Stories of Self-Discovery by Maxine Harris. The publishers, the Sidran Institute Press from Baltimore, Maryland. This story is Speak to Me. Josie's mother, Layla, was known throughout their large but close-knit community as a very wise woman. Whenever family members or neighbors needed advice or guidance, they would call on Layla, who would listen and give good counsel. Many wondered how it was that Layla seemed to know just the right thing to say to each person when their concerns were all so different. Layla had no special training as a counselor or an advisor, but she spoke with a clarity that made people stop and listen. "How is it that you understand so much, Mother?" Josie would often ask during one of their many long talks. "I speak from my heart, daughter. If you listen well, your own heart will speak and tell you all you need to know of truth." Layla would respond. Josie was not quite sure what her mother meant or whether she had the power to listen as her mother did, but Josie was always comforted knowing that as long as her mother was alive, Layla would help her figure out what to do. As the years passed, Josie began to worry just a little about what she would do when the time came for Layla to pass from this life to the next. "Mother, how will I know what to do when you are gone?" she would ask. "Don't be silly, my darling daughter," Layla would respond. "You too are wise. Look at all you have accomplished. You have a loving family of your own, and you have traveled to many countries and spoken with women far wiser than I." "No, no," insisted Josie, sounding like the little girl she had not been for many years. "You don't understand. I need to be able to talk with you. What will I do when you are gone?" Layla tried to reassure her daughter, but no manner of reasoning seemed to quiet Josie's anxiety. "Please, Mother, you are wise and you have powers far greater than most women. Teach me how I might be able to speak with you even after you are gone." For years, Josie had observed Layla sitting, from time to time, in silent reverie, speaking from her heart to the spirits of ancestors long gone. "I know that you have found a way to speak with your mother. You have told me so. Please, teach me so that I might also be able to speak with you, even when you no longer walk this earth." Although she tried to resist Josie's pleas at first, Layla eventually gave in to her daughter's request. "My dear daughter, you are silly to believe that I have some magic formula for speaking with the dead. My prayers are very private, but if you insist, I will tell you what I do. When I feel the need for my own mother's wisdom, I sit very quietly and concentrate with the core of my being. Sometimes I can feel her presence, and I feel comforted and at peace." Josie listened intently to her mother's description, and then asked, "If I concentrate as you do, Mother, will I be able to hear your voice and know your wisdom?" "I can't make promises," Layla responded, "but I will do my best to guide you and love you always." Josie smiled and wrapped her arms around her mother's broad shoulders. More years passed, and Josie herself grew into a wise and respected woman in the community. She still sought Layla's counsel, although she relied on Layla less for everyday advice. Josie never forgot the conversation she had had with her mother years before, however, and she became convinced that her mother's voice would never leave her. Surely, if anyone could cross the ineffable boundary of space and time, Layla and her love for Josie would. One day, after a brief illness, Layla closed her eyes for the last time. Josie and all her brothers and sisters and most of the community came to say goodbye and honor the woman who had advised and comforted so many of them. Josie's sorrow for her mother was deep, but she busied herself with preparations for the funeral and by offering comfort to the other mourners who came from all around. And for a time after the burial, Josie could hardly believe that Lila was really gone. Her mother's spirit was so strong that Josie kept expecting to see Lila or hear her mother's voice as she went about her daily routine. As time passed, Josie found herself missing her mother more, not less. She missed their long talks and her mother's strong opinions. She missed Lila's warm smile and her soft caress, as she missed the sweet cookies that Lila served every day at tea time. If only I could talk to my mother, she thought, with a heavy sigh, and then she remembered her conversation with Lila so long ago. Of course, she said out loud to herself, I will sit and concentrate, and surely Lila will come and speak to me. And so she prepared a special spot for her anticipated visit with her mother. Josie wrapped herself in a shawl her mother had knitted, sat in her favorite chair, and inhaled the sweet aroma of Lila's own blend of spiced tea. And as Josie thought about her mother, she waited and she waited and she waited, but no voice made itself known. Where are you, Mother? She called. Please speak to me. I am your daughter, Josie, and I need to hear your voice yet again. But no matter how she pleaded or how long she waited, no voice came. She tried her experiment a few more times, each time with less confidence and always with the same result. No sound from Lila. Perhaps I am doing something wrong, she thought to herself. Perhaps the dead do not communicate through words. Perhaps their way is different from ours. Perhaps my mother will give me some sign that she is still with me. So Lila began to look for signs in the shapes of the clouds, in the calls of the birds, in the bubbling sound of the evening stew. She looked for evidence of her mother's voice, but she found none. And after a while, Josie stopped believing that she would ever hear Lila's voice again. Time passed, and Josie turned her attention to raising her own quiet, large family. She was especially close to her oldest daughter, who had also been a favorite granddaughter of Lila's. The young girl was quite an accomplished musician, and one summer was invited to give a recital before a large audience of visitors at the town hall. Josie listened with pride as her daughter performed with grace and skill. As she was congratulating her daughter after the performance, Josie found herself saying, Your grandmother would be so proud of you. I know just what she would have said if she had been here to hear you play. And with those words, Josie recited a prayer that she had often heard her mother say on special occasions. Her daughter beamed upon hearing the familiar words. Why, you sound just like Grandmama when you say that, she exclaimed. Do I now? mused Josie. How nice. Weeks passed, and Josie did not think much about her daughter's comment at the recital. Then one day, she was shopping at the big open-air market that occupied the center of town when she heard herself saying to the baker, I am a good customer, and you do indeed bake the best bread in town, but you'll not get my money for bread that is a day old. The baker looked surprised, for it was unlike Josie to speak so boldly. As she saw his response, Josie laughed to herself. She could almost hear her mother's many conversations with the town's merchants echoing in the back of her mind. Josie was not sure what to make of her experience at the market, but she put it out of her mind as she prepared for the visit of her cousin, whom she had not seen since Lila's death. Her cousin's visit was a joyous occasion because the two had been almost like sisters growing up. While the two women sat over a pot of tea and talked, Josie brought out a plate of sweet cookies just as her mother had done on so many occasions. As the two ate and talked, Josie's cousin asked what she had learned over the last several years since Lila's death. Josie replied simply and without thinking, I have learned that life is short and we must enjoy every day we are given. Before the words were even out of her mouth, Josie realized that she was repeating a comment she had heard her mother make 1,000 times before." "Those are wise words," responded her cousin. "You sound just like Lila when you say that." "It's funny you should say that," replied Josie. "I have been saying and doing more and more things that I know Mama would have said. I have one regret, though. I have not heard my dear mother's voice over these many years. I had so hoped that she would find a way to speak to me from beyond." "How odd of you to say that," remarked Josie's cousin. "For when I am with you, I feel as if I am in the presence of Lila herself. You sound so much like her that I feel like she is speaking to me when I hear you talk." Josie looked startled at her cousin's words, and then smiled to herself. "Thank you, Mother," she thought. "I guess you have been there all along. I just needed to learn how to listen to your voice." Speak to me. How do we deal with the loss of someone we love? Of course, we mourn and we remember. We may become angry and at times despondent as we long for the familiar touch, the knowing smile. We may spend hours reminiscing, but each of us tries in his or her own way to hold on to the essence of the person who is gone. Some families establish a shared ritual that commemorates the life of the ones who have passed on. Others find some way to keep a favorite interest alive by giving to charity or continuing to perform certain tasks. Certainly, one way that families hope to keep the spirit of a loved one alive is by nurturing the next generation. Often, a new addition to the family will be given the name or nickname of one who has recently died and whose memory is cherished. But what many of us find, sometimes quite by accident, is that we keep alive the spirit of a beloved ancestor or a special friend or companion by incorporating into ourselves some quality or mannerism or trait of that person. The person never leaves us when we see some aspect of them in us.